And second, if so, when is the best time to buy owner participation? To give you a brief background, in 2006, the City of Garner entered into an agreement with OPPD, Omaha Public Power District, for 20 megawatts. That agreement ends on December 31st, 2018. In order to meet our projected capacity, the city will require 20 megawatts by January 1st, 2019. Last year, the city purchased 54,960 megawatt hours from OPPD, which is $2,495,734. So in order to see if Dogwood is the best alternative, what I have done, I look at several alternatives. And in order to do that, I said, how can we replace the 54,960 megawatt hours that we purchased last year? So in the table that follows, we have OPPD at the top, that's our reference. And then we have several alternatives that include a 20 megawatt PPA, a 10-year, a pre-owned gas turbine, a new gas turbine simple cycle, then some reciprocating engines, then Dogwood 1 and Dogwood 2. The difference between Dogwood 1 and 2 is the timing of the entering into the ownership. So if we look at the 20 megawatt PPA, we see that has the lowest cost, even lower than OPPD. But the capacity cost will not be continuous, but the capacity cost will be a continuous expense, which means we'll have to pay every year for that capacity. And then there is no guarantee that the energy cost will remain at 3015. I think this is the best alternative if the city is willing to take a medium to high risk, that the price will remain the same, and considering the uncertainty of the energy prices in the near future. Then the second lowest cost is Dogwood, one or two. Now these two options or alternatives give you the following advantages. The capacity cost will be paid off after 20 years, since it's a 20-year bond project, which means that after year 21, there'll be no cost for the capacity. The only thing that will be left will be the actual O&M, fixed cost, LTSA, which is the maintenance agreement, and CIPs. So that'll be the only component that we will be paying after the year 20. The second is Dogwood will provide much needed flexibility. Right now we have a contract with OPPD that we have to tell them a month ahead how much generation we're gonna buy from them. Once we establish that capacity, we have to pay them $41.04 for every megawatt hour. With Dogwood, we'll have the flexibility looking in the day-ahead market or in the real-time market if we can do better, or if we can get the energy at a lower price. That flexibility we don't have right now with OPPD. Looking at the average energy cost will be anywhere between the mid-20s and $30 per megawatt hour. This will hedge our exposure for energy about $30 per megawatt hour. In other words, if the energy prices are $40, we can generate with Dogwood at 25 or 30. Let's say that it goes the other way. Let's say the energy prices is 10. That means that we can go to the market and get that energy for $10. The fourth reason, as a owner in Dogwood, we will share 3% of the net revenues, which means that since we're buying 20 megawatts in capacity, this translates to a $300,000 in annual net revenues from the sales. The other alternative, the pre-owned, the gas turbine, simple cycle, and the reciprocating engines were not analyzed because the price were above Dogwood. So going to the first question, Dogwood is the best long-term alternative. For the second question, when is the best time to enter into this agreement? There's two options, so two windows of opportunity. Tranche 1, we have to sign the project agreement no later than August 1st, 2017. And the purchase price is 525 kilowatt hours per kilowatt hour. Then we have an option on the tollback. That means that if the city doesn't need the energy or the capacity, Dogwood will pay the city 100% and 50% of the interest payment. And we'll see further how that translates. On tranche 2, the price for the capacity goes $5, so it's $530. There is no tollback associated with tranche 2. Then on the next table, you have the financial cost requirements for tranche 1 and 2. As you will see on the top, the difference is $5. If you go to the end total, on tranche 1, we'll need 11,470,454, and on tranche 2, 11,470,454, of which the 10,800,000 tranche 1 will be funded through bonds, and the 454 through cash. Looking at tranche 2, the cost is slightly higher, 10,980,000, and the cash is 454, which is the same. Doing an analysis of the 20 years principal and interest, which is the table below, on tranche 1, we have a total principal and interest, a total of $60,749,588. For tranche 2, we have $60,703,176. However, you have the tollback from tranche 1, which is 401,144. So you look at your net cost between tranche 1 and tranche 2, you have a net cost of $16,348,444 versus the $60,703,176. So that tells you that tranche 1 makes more sense, which means that we will need to sign the agreement before August 1st. So the answer to the second question, tranche 1 is on the best interest to the city. The purchase of project agreement was reviewed by legal counsel and bond counsel. Some modifications were made, so the final version is attached to your packets. The funding of the project is available from the Electric Fund 2018 operating budget. Having said that, it's staff recommendation to consider adopting a resolution authorizing the execution of a Dogwood project agreement between the City of Kansas, the City of Garner, Kansas, and Kansas Municipality Energy Administration, Kansas, for 20 megawatts owner participation in Dogwood Energy Facility. I have Paul Malberg from KMEA. He's the general manager, so we can answer any questions you may have regarding the Dogwood purchase agreement.
Well, we're going to open up the floor for public comments on committee recommendation number 1. If anyone has public comments, now would be your chance to make them. No one coming forward. Questions for Gons, Paul Mulberg from KMEA or other city staff?
Yeah, I've got a couple, and it just seems, I'm trying to break this down, and I appreciate your presentation, Gons. You did a good job of trying to summarize what we've got here.
It wasn't easy.
Well, what's missing, it seems, just on the lay side, the Trench 1 obviously makes the best choice, but my question is, why would you pay $100,000 more for the 20-year agreement with Trench 2? Is that just to lock in or hedge that megawatt hour rate? Or is that, I mean, because the tollback itself is going to help to, make it pretty clear that we want to go with Trench 1, unless you're going to see upward revision in those rates.
The reason I put both, originally, it was going to be my recommendation to the city council to go on Trench 2.
Okay.
So in order to determine if it was Trench 1 or 2, I had to do a analysis. And the analysis showed that Trench 1 makes more sense. Although we will be going a year earlier, but with the tollback, we will get some of that money back.
Okay, so this Trench 2 starts in 2019, Trench 1 starts in 2018. That's the
Yes, yes, sir.
So Gons, why were you originally, because that was gonna be my question. So what's other than the money, the monetary difference, is there any other benefit that you saw going with Trench 2 and waiting?
We don't need the capacity nor the energy until the end of 2018. That was the main reason.
Because of
since-
the Omaha Power.
We have the OPPD until December 31st, 2018. So I said, well, we can go later, but looking at the analysis and taking the tollback, the tollback as a payback to the city, it looks like Trench 1 makes more sense. That's the only reason.
Okay.
Yeah, and the fact that we're paying slightly more because of obviously, it's a down the road.
Yes, sir.
Down the road cost of additional, $5 per kilowatt hour for Trench 2. But since it does start in 2019, that's the risk,
Yeah.
the risk factor involved. Okay.
Gons, how long is the 54,960, how long is that contract for, from OPPD? The 54,960 megawatt,
The contract was,
or is that the,
OPPD is the PPA we have right now with Omaha Public Works District. And that expires December 31st, 2018. So that PPA needs to be replaced with something.
okay.
So that's the alternatives I presented.
So the 20 meets all of our needs at this point?
That will be good for maybe another 5 years. And
Okay,
if we grow the ways we're hoping for, we will need more capacity probably in the next 7 to 10 years.
But you don't want to build out all that capacity now because
Right.
you won't use it, and there's no point in paying for it if you don't use it.
Unless we have a buyer lined up.
Dogwood has additional capacity for
They
all of
are
our
a
needs in the future.
650 megawatt plant, so only buying 3%, which is 20
Yeah.
megawatts.
There's going to be still plenty of spare capacity, if I remember my presentation from about 6 months ago on that.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
Yeah, so we can always buy extra capacity as we need it.
as we need it.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Questions? Comments?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Guns? Well, we've got a resolution number 1971. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion shoot second winners. We adopt resolution number 1971, authorizing the execution of the Dogwood Project Agreement between the City of Gardner, Kansas and the Kansas Municipal Energy Administration, Kansas, for 20 megawatt owner participation in Dogwood Energy Facility. City Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Winters,
Yes?
Councilmember Melton,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison,
Yes.
1971 passes. Gons, thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, thank you, and KMEA for continued service. Appreciate it. And we have no old business. We have no new business. We'll move on to council updates. Does staff have anything for council? We'll start with Lieutenant. You got anything?
No, sir.
City clerk?
No, sir.
Gons, anything else?
Yeah, last time we had an outage. I don't know the exact part of the city, but we received an email from one of the Utility Advisory Commission members saying why it took 2 hours. Most of the outages we have, usually there's a blown fuse or it's a squirrel, an animal. So that's fairly simple to identify and correct the problem. This time we had an actual feeder that failed. So we had to identify where was the location of the feeder. It took us for about maybe 30 to an hour to identify. Then we had to isolate the fault, and then we backfeed the circuit through another feeder. So the power was restored after 2 hours. Then the following day, which was today, we went ahead and changed the feeder and restored the power to the original configuration. So if somebody asks you why it took 2 hours versus 20 minutes, that's the reason. It was a little more complex.
A little spoiled in this town.
Yes, we are a little spoiled in this town.
Yeah, right.
All right, thanks, Gons. Scott?
No, sir.
Laura?
So we had something really,
Yes?
so we had something really good happen, and that's that Gons took one of my meter readers in a promotion. So that's great. We retained a great employee, and he got a great employee. That leaves utility billing short-staffed in the hottest part of the year for meter reading.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with this is, it's going to be wildly unpopular, but I think we're gonna have to estimate 2 of our routes, and they're 2 of our larger routes. We sent our customer service people out to read as well, because they're previous meter readers, but there's just not enough bodies to cover the ground. So this is not gonna be popular during the hot part of the year, and it's probably more unpopular on the ones you don't estimate quite right and you settle up later, so heads up.
Is it possible for us to ask the citizens to go out and take a picture with their phone and send it in? I mean, I know if I was paying the bill, that would be an easy option for me to go, yeah, I want to make sure I pay the right amount.
Well, we have automated equipment that reads the meters and auto-populates the billing program.
Okay.
So we do have people that read their own meters, but I don't think that would be the best option for citywide. It's only 2 of our mini routes, but it's going to feel like a lot of people.
Right.
And we're pretty good at estimating, and our billing is really, really good at like 99+%, but just heads up, the city's gain in another department might also be the city's loss.
Sure.
Thanks, Collins.
Can I add, do we have any options, Laura, maybe, I mean, this time of the year especially, to subsidize that with contract resources? So temporary help?
We actually borrow from other departments because a great many of my previous meter readers are dispersed throughout the cities because we have great hires, so they get kept. But all departments are short-staffed and struggling, and actually I wasn't going to bring this up because I haven't talked to any of them because it just came up this afternoon, but I may be asking for help, but I'm also reserving the right to ask for really big help on shut-off days. And I don't want to overstaff. And as far as getting them from someplace else, we're interviewing next week, so hopefully it'll be temporary. And we've never really used, we did once, an outsourced company that was not,
Didn't go well?
it didn't go very well.
Okay.
You brought up a good point about it being the hottest time of the year and the fact that we've got a whole lot of people that are getting, and we got several comments. We've gotten some personal emails as well about estimated bills and how their electric bill tripled last month and stuff like that. And I know that we're not, we know that it's the hottest time of the year. I mean, we have higher usage. Higher usage means, you know, greater amounts of bill for your electric service and also water too. So I guess the question I got is one of the biggest complaints I had was, I've got a $500 electric bill, which is really not electric, it's electric water and wastewater, and I can't pay it. So I'm bringing it up again because I've brought up almost every year about this time. You know, what is utility billing's position, and will the city work with these folks on payment?
Okay, for the record, loud and clear into the speaker.
Yes.
All you ever have to do is call us and then follow through. Because you can't tell us you're going to do one thing and then not follow through, because we are a municipality and it's our job to collect the revenue.
Correct.
But we are extremely lenient, and part of my Citizen Academy every year is the accuracy of the billing rate, which is truly like 99.9%. And you get 300 people who are angry one time, well, we bill 8,000 a month.
Uh-huh.
So that still comes up pretty small. So 300 feels like a lot, but maybe it's not. All they have to do is call, contact, whatever. We bend over backwards to make payment arrangements. I will say I know there's discussion about we don't follow KCC rules. We are not required to follow KCC rules. We are not ogres. The cold weather rule, we never turn off electricity in the winter. Doesn't mean we won't turn off your water, but we won't turn off electricity. And as an internal ancient administrative policy, if there's a heat warning or the actual temperature is 100, we don't shut off. But that doesn't mean we won't come when it's 97.
Sure.
So all they have to do is contact. We try to put that out. We're very, very lenient.
Yeah. I just wanted to make that clear because there has been some social media buzz out there about that, and I wanted to make sure that folks that are watching this understand that we are extremely lenient. Much more lenient, in fact, than our friends at Kansas City Power and Light have been in the past. So I think that just wanted to put that on the record for the folks out there.
Can I add to that? It was part of my update, but speaking of the electric rates, you know, our late fee penalty is I think pretty steep. I mean, it's 10% the day you miss, which, you know, for some people, if it's a $300 bill, that's another $30 or $40. Have we ever looked at that? I know we changed that, about 10 years ago probably, or maybe longer than that, but I wonder if that's something when we look at the rates, maybe we can kind of look at, because it just seems awfully steep, especially when people are already struggling to make their payments.
I thought we looked at that a couple of years ago, Laura, about how much, because specifically it was how much revenue did that 10% late fee bring in, and I don't know that it was actually substantial, but.
I know what it was, so I asked for 2016.
You did, but I also had that. Hold on, there we go. Why? I might have thought about these things. Okay, so by the way, this is obviously a policy decision.
Sure.
You can do anything you want. And we looked at this a while back. I think what you're remembering is we looked at credit card fees, which was, by the time I broke them all down, was like so insignificant, it was better just to collect the money, because then it's the credit card people's problem if something's wrong. Penalties are 10% of retail sales, but of the overall revenue, it was less than 1. Of your overall electric revenue, it's less than 1, but it is 10% of your retail sale. There's a lot of other revenues in the electric fund. So that is entirely up to you whether or not it's too steep. And the banter about it's the day you miss and it's 10% a day and what it's 10%. Period.
Right.
And all of it is in our code. And in the cycle, billings and due dates and penalty dates and all that stuff is in our code. And actually, we're pretty lenient with that too, because we don't count weekends. We don't count holidays. We wait until we go out and collect all the drop boxes everywhere, and we open every single piece of mail, and then we say, okay, now we're done. And then we say, there, stop, hard stop here. And then you're late. But we bill ahead. So the grace period's built in. So once you get the delinquency notice, you're delinquent, and it's 10%. But there have been rare occasions where there has been an extenuating circumstance where the penalties were waived. We're not ogres. All you need to do is contact us.
Anybody else?
But it came, I think it was about 135,000 for 2016. So, I mean, it's a substantial amount of money.
That's $135,315 out of $13,456,000 in change in revenues, retail
what-
sales.
What purpose does it serve exactly, that 10%?
That is,
Just a,
Incentive to remember.
Pay on time.
that's it, right?
I mean, I guess the way I look at it is, I know people like to say, well, listen, I get this bill and I can't make the payment. But reality is, I mean, you get the bill about 3 weeks in advance. So if you can't plan for 3 weeks, chances are pretty good you're not, it just doesn't matter. And so if you choose to pay late, I mean, we can't have everybody paying late, or
No.
it doesn't make any sense. So I've always kind of felt like, hey, I've paid a couple days late and I knew I'm going to pay 10%. That's a choice that I make. So,
we've actually had people come in and we've sat down with them and gone through their budget and showed them, pay a little early here. I mean, if they want to spend the time, we can try to help. We've also pointed them to other resources, what are they called, multi-social service and
Multi-service, mhm.
Catholic Charity, and there's other resources. I myself have been in meetings with people because I'm the hearing officer if it gets to that point. So we spend a great deal of time, if you want it, to help people.
And
go ahead. No, I was just going to say, so gone to Todd's point, will that be something during the rate study that they would look at in general as how are we compared to other entities as far as late fees and so forth?
Yeah, that's something that will be considered during the rate study.
Okay.
And something I'd like to add to what Boris said. There's a technology called smart meters, in which you can read your electric and water meters remotely. So I attended a summit a couple weeks ago, and I'll be exploring that possibility for the city and do a presentation perhaps by the end of the year or early next year. With the technology, you can read the meters remotely, you can shut off the meters. So there's a lot of good things about that technology.
Very good. Anything else, Laura? Larry?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Just a brief update. We've had, last week on Wednesday and Thursday, we had the charrette, and we had a lot of public participation, and fortunately, some of the council members were able to come on a couple of the days. And I think it was very good. We had a lot of public input. There's quite a discussion on various and sundry things about, which was what we were trying to elicit, was a discussion about the highway, transportation use, the fairgrounds, how to grow our businesses, and various other subjects. So the next public meeting will be in October. We will, of course, be announcing that in the days to come. But so far, it's been very good, and we've had a lot of good thoughts and recommendations from the public, and we appreciate their input.
How many steering committee meetings will you have between now and October?
I'm sorry, how many what?
Steering committee meetings? Couple.
I believe there'll be at least two. There will be a technical meeting also, so there will be at least two separate meetings, possibly three for that.
Super. Michael Kramer.
Yeah, good evening, thank you. First up, I wanted to give an update on the CVS and the site work's ongoing. They've been working on a lot of curb and gutter and on their storm drainage. And today they were doing pipe bursting, which is replacing the sanitary sewer that runs across the property. At the same time that they're replacing that sewer, and this is at CVS's expense, they're also upsizing it a little bit to help capacities in the future. And that's been a little bit of the delay as far as getting roads open, is getting that sewer through there. They actually started the bursting today. It was supposed to take them a couple hours, so I assume they got done, but I didn't hear for certain. And then the soil pile over there that's ever growing is waiting on KDHE approval before they can haul it off site, due to the fuel and such that was in there from the past. The township cemetery folks, Larry and I met with them back in June, and we've been gathering information since then. Currently working on putting together some cost estimates for extending the paving on Grand Street across the railroad tracks to the cemetery, extending water service to them, possibly electrical service. And then they'd like also eventually to have an access drive from Waverly Road through the wetlands. And but any plans on that are on hold with KCPL's current ongoing merger. So we'll come back to City Council at some point after we have those costs and discuss where you'd like to go with that. And then wanted to give kind of an update on our Madison Trail that's sitting out there. Like I told you in the past, a few council meetings ago, I gave you an update and said we're headed towards a change order, and we're definitely headed towards a change order. And we're going along pretty well, and had some geotechnical work last week, and then we got more rain, and the geotechnical was already showing that we're going to need to do some over excavation and such, and so it's just another kind of fair warning that we're, and I was hoping to have some exact numbers and stuff from you, but I'm waiting on the contractor right now, but it looks like we're going to end up really needing to change that whole portion of the trail to concrete, just to be able to get a subgrade that will hold it up, and then get the trail done and close back up. But we'll bring that back to you at hopefully the next meeting.
All right. Council, you have anything for staff or for the good of the order? Steve, start with you.
Yeah, wow, that never happens.
Way to keep things light.
I know. Just a reminder to the public, we're not going to be having a ADA Advisory Committee meeting this Thursday because it was canceled to make way for the downtown planning session that took place at the open building over at the fairgrounds. And by the way, I was happy to go over there and kind of see the renderings. It's pretty exciting what is coming out of those meetings, out of the steering committee, and out of the folks over at Confluence. They're doing an excellent job, by the way. I think that once that starts really getting finalized and firmed up, I think that the folks in town are really going to be happy with the progress and what those concepts are. Particularly some of the renderings on the east and south sides of downtown look really exciting, and looking forward to seeing what comes out of those discussions. There was also a discussion that took place about just a real basic, I've been having back and forth with people on my email about fireworks and what happened during the 4 days between Saturday and Tuesday during the fireworks presentations around the city. And it was about a 50-50 split between people who really appreciated the fireworks and actually wanted them extended, and others who were really concerned, and I think they definitely had legitimate concerns about the length of the fireworks, the four straight days, but particularly the thing that really concerned me was the fact that it wasn't so much the periods necessarily of the fireworks as much as it was the lack of courtesy on the part of folks that were out there shooting off fireworks in a lot of places and shooting off their mouths in social media and demeaning people and, you know, creating some pretty bad circumstances on certain sites, and I think you all know what I'm talking about. It's you know, I've always felt as a person who believes in personal property rights and personal freedoms that, you know, my freedom to do what I want ends when it depends on somebody else's freedom to be left alone. And when you start getting in people's faces and start demeaning them and telling them, well, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, or saying on you know, social media that I'm going to do it and I know that it's illegal, but I'm going to do it anyway, and here's where I'm doing it and here's when I'm doing it, that's wrong. And it creates a situation where it puts the entire freedom of everybody to shoot off fireworks at risk. And I would really like to see fireworks continue in the city. I think it does add, to a certain extent, to the quality of life. I don't like what happened this time around in a lot of cases. And I'm just putting it out there and not saying that I'm going to remove somebody's freedom to shoot off fireworks, but man, guys, you know, with freedom comes responsibility. And I don't think some people were very responsible this time around. That's all I had.
Todd?
No.
Christie?
I do not have anything.
Lee?
Yeah, on the fireworks discussion, I'll share with everybody what I've been saying in response to the emails that I've received about from the folks that don't want fireworks. And what I've been saying is we'll revisit the ordinance once more, and we'll probably do it every year until it either goes away, they get banned again or whatever. But we'll probably have to do this every year. And to that end, I also mentioned that we will most likely also do a citizen survey after each 4th of July to get feedback from folks on the positives or negatives and all that, like we did last year. And I explained also that the responses to the survey was basically, I mean, the result of the survey last year was that we stretched the date for 4 days because people felt like they didn't have enough time. That was some of the feedback that we received in the survey. I've gotten from almost everyone that's emailed me that said they didn't like the fireworks. They said that they would be more amenable to it if it was a shorter period of time. So that's just feedback for everybody. But I guess I want to put my plug in there to get a citizen survey out again on the fireworks issue so we can gather more feedback.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Good idea.
I'm in favor of it.
But I think it's the CPA that does it.
Yeah, we did. We'll be putting one together, I'm sure. So when Chief gets back, we'll sit down and do it with our group again. Probably ask the same questions and then add some more. If you guys have any recommendations, send them over to me and we'll, put them in there with the questionnaires based on your conversations with people. I think it'd be good. I mean, the more questions we have, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And I know a lot of people are worried about people outside Gardner somehow answering it, but I'm like, you can't really. I mean, how do you tell somebody they can't do it? I don't know. I mean,
I don't even know if there's a way you can track that.
Yeah, actually, we'll leave that up for our communications manager to determine. She's back there shaking her head and basically saying, yes, we can track that.
right.
One issue in particular that I noticed myself in driving around all 4 days observing, I saw an awful lot of shooting fireworks from the middle of the street.
Yes.
On my own street, I had to talk to neighbors and say, "Come on, guys, we can't do that. You got to do it in your driveway." And so yeah, I don't know if that's an enforcement issue or what, but.
I think our next ad campaign needs to start probably in August, saying, "Don't do it in the street." We can just repeat that message
yeah.
for
Don't do it in
10
the
months.
street.
Well, there was a fairly, there's a fairly raucous discussion surrounding one particular individual who bought a
Yes.
lot of fireworks and shot them all at the end of a dead-end street.
And then left his mess.
And then left his mess, and then there was another conversation
Yeah.
that followed that. But the basis of that whole thing was that this person broke the law. I mean, broke the ordinance
And they
shoot
said,
him off
and they
the
said in
street.
advance they were going to break the law. They
Right.
said in advance they were going to do that.
So, yeah. So I don't know. That's probably a note for the chief.
Anything else, Lee?
That's all I got.
Rich?
Real quick question, Larry, on the sign ordinance. On a temporary sign, we're limited to 32 square feet. Is that right? There's no, is that true? I think I read that.
Are we talking about the fireworks?
No, sign ordinance. For like
The
temporary
30
banner signs or,
The 32 square foot restriction is only on the fireworks signage.
really?
The temporary sign ordinance itself has a number of different sizes available to you depending upon the kind of sign that you're putting out and for how long it's out there.
Okay.
So you have to look at the whole ordinance, but the only one that we have that has a definite size of the 32 square feet is the amount that policy set when we passed the original ordinance to be that size.
Okay.
And it's an identification name sign, and we did that in case there were like volunteer organizations that were running stands so that the stand could be identified.
Right, I'll send these people over to you then. I think there might be some confusion.
Sure. If they've got a sign question, please have them come by.
I'll do that. I'll have them contact you. And then on the expense breakdown we got for Parks and Rec, you guys, here, I printed a couple extra copies just so you can look at it. I had a quick question, Scott, on the 2016, 2017, we'll just use it as example, youth basketball. There was, and real quick, I want to clarify, I want to make sure, there's no staff expenses on this for any of this, for the volleyball or the basketball or anything, is that correct? I think I saw that in the back. It says there's no, don't reflect advertising, promotional, or administrative program staff, or time administration on that, so is that correct?
Yeah, what you see are the direct costs that go directly with the program.
Right, so, real quick, what, I see it has, we have officials and scorekeepers and supervisors. What is a supervisor, I guess, because I know what the other two are. I mean, is that,
That's a site supervisor. So essentially what happens is the school will, unlock the facility for us. And I did find some information in the past where when all of this was, being set up several years ago or whatever, we were the only entity that rented the school facilities that would actually provide an on-site paid supervisor. And
Okay.
a lot of that has to do with so kids aren't running down the hall or trashing
Sure.
the place or doing something they shouldn't be doing.
and how many, is that just one per event then you have, for like when the schools are open? Is that what, we just have one person for that particular school? Is that what that was?
Yeah, typically we have one at each facility. So, obviously if we're at different facilities, that, may fluctuate.
Okay. And then advertising and promotional costs, was that just not tracked, or, how does that work? I guess it's more of a Laura question, or no? All right,
It's
sorry.
kind of hard to give you a breakdown. Like, so when we do newsletters or something else like that, it's not the only program that's being advertised at the
Right.
time. Or if we're doing, cross-promotional things, or, if we have, say, soccer coming up, we're already trying to plug something else. So, but a lot of times we try to cross-sell, or for lack of a better term, for cross-participation. So we don't want to just give you one item and
Sure.
then say, we'll put the Easter egg hunt or something, but, some other different events on there as well.
Right, okay. I think, the supervisors and all those folks, the scorekeepers, officials, they're all paid hourly, correct? So they get per game fee, or how does that work?
The officials get per game.
Uh-huh.
The scorekeepers and the site supervisors, they're hourly.
Okay.
And we do the same thing in our own facility. So if you go out to celebration during a tournament, or, if a group comes in and brings in a tournament, we have a site supervisor there.
Okay.
Regardless.
All right, thank you. Oh, yeah, and then Michael, CVS, are they looking to be ready for the parade? I mean, or have it where it's, have they, I know we're coming up on that, and my kids asked the other day.
Yeah,
problem.
I don't know.
And I'm not real sure on the parade route and what we're
Okay.
going to be doing with CVS, and I'll be meeting with our city engineer and with
Okay.
Larry and folks.
All right. Gosh, I don't know. I guess that's it. It seems like kind of a short one for me, but
Moving on. Okay, I just want to remind everybody that August 1st, Tuesday, there will be a primary election, and there will also be a question on the ballot. Please encourage your family members, friends, neighbors to get out and vote. The Justice Center is a very important issue, and of course, the makeup of our next city council is possibly at stake as well. So, everyone, please get out and vote on August 1st. With that, we're through.
I had just one more thing, if I may.
Sure.
I was wondering about we talked about the newspaper last time around. Did you guys, was there any numbers or to report on that? We were talking about getting a report of circulation or between the Kansas City Star and the...
I am not aware that there was, I don't know if there was any directive. I mean, we heard your directive, but I did not hear it as a whole. It's like finance doesn't really publish anything that's not bond related or whatever. So I am unaware of what the directive was.
Oh, well, I think Cheryl had it, so...
right. So the rest of staff didn't follow up on, or didn't, wasn't listening. Okay. I'm asking them because they're here.
Doesn't appear so, but I see Michael leaning in.
Well, I have not followed up on it myself personally, and I don't know if Cheryl's staff has begun that process or not.
Actually, Kim was out last week, and so was the executive assistant. So there may have been discussion, but I do not know.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and actually, to that end, Laura, can you maybe take a look at the cost for Gardner News and cost for Kansas City Star for comparison purposes? Somebody on the staff, whoever.
To be clear, are you looking like per inch? I honestly don't know how newspapers do this. So is it by the column inch? Are you talking, I mean, I think that I don't want to speak too much for HR, but I believe they already advertise in the Kansas City Star on occasion. Rarely. Okay, so rarely. I don't know exactly, if I were to sit down and you told me to do this, I wouldn't know exactly what you wanted, so perhaps you could elaborate. Are you talking about if my bond ordinance was published, would you want to know what it was versus Kansas City Star? But then there's all kinds of things that are, I mean, citywide, we do a lot of stuff.
I thought so we're required to publish certain things in the paper of record.
Correct.
So first, I mean, is there a clear definition on the paper of record? Because I could have sworn we looked at the same thing about 4 or 5 years ago when Mayor Dravetta was here, same type of discussion, and that there were pretty stringent guidelines on what that paper of record was. So, I mean, I think that would be the first question. And then the second is, okay, what is required to be published? What does the city have to publish? And what are the cost breakdown to that? Because I think even like HR stuff or things like that are not required for public notification will probably continue as they are today, whatever they feel is the best means.
My computer is updating and spinning, otherwise I'd be able to pull the exact language of the statute for you. But I think what I said last time, and this is my best recollection without being able to access it, is that it has to be a paper of general circulation in the municipality where, that you're intending to provide notice to.
And so when you talk about general circulation, and I believe there is a legal definition for general circulation as well, but I mean, 200, a subscription base of 200 out of a community of 22,500 doesn't to me strike me as being general circulation. But
Right.
that's, I mean, and I know that all papers are having this problem. I mean, even the Kansas City Star's, circulation is dropping because they can't compete with online media outlets. And I know that the state had talked about potentially including electronic media as part of general circulation within a community. Do you have any ideas on that?
Right, so I talked last time that the legislature had looked at, and there's been discussion, like at LKM, about just being able to go to online publications. That change has not been made yet.
Correct.
That there have been some changes, in some of which we practice. So you can publish, like on ordinances, a notice that that an ordinance was passed, and then provide reference to that the body of the ordinance can be found at the website. And so we do that to reduce publication costs. Right, but that's right. So that's available sometimes. That's only for ordinances. There are times when we're required to publish resolutions, particularly when you're noticing of public hearings, and that exemption does not exist in that circumstance. So you have to publish the entire text. When I think I went through this with Westwood, I think I told you several years ago when the Johnson County Sun went out of business. I know what the research showed in terms of what was expensive, and they ended up going with the legal record. And I think the answer is, what's a paper of general circulation? I think where we ended up was, it was a decision for the governing body to land upon. So that's my best recollection. That was however many years ago. But
Sure.
So last week, I think, or in the last meeting, we just asked for an analysis of the current situation, how much we're spending, what the circulation is versus what it would cost to change, and what the circulation of the competition is. So I think
And I think Christie asked for even the online presence, if we could get that from the two of them.
yeah.
So. Well, I mean, I think it would be.
Unless there's anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I would be open for any options. Well, I mean, I'd like to see what all the options are for this particular area, but I think it's the two.
Yeah. And,
We'd have to get circulation counts, but I think the top two are the Star and the
yeah.
Gardner News. I don't think we have any Olathe News. I don't even think Olathe News is in business
They're-
anymore, is it? Yeah.
The Kansas
So-
City Star produces something on Saturday.
Yeah, the 911. Or not,
917.
911.
If
Well,
I
that-
may, to
that's
make
a-
sure I understand, to follow up, did you hear enough from Ryan, or do you want more?
No, I think we got the same thing from Ryan last time. That's 2 in a row. That's good.
Okay, so then, you want to, so really the only way I can think of is, I can give you how much we've been spending for like the last few years, but there's going to be a wide variety. Like this time we had to publish the notice of election, and
Sure.
so I don't suppose you want like it all detailed out. You just want a trend,
Yeah.
and then you want me to like check around for cost per inch.
Yeah, some comps. I think it's the
Probably.
comps.
The
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And circulation is important.
Yeah,
also.
circulation is going to be a big part of that, because if it's more, obviously it's, averaging out.
I don't mind paying a little more if we get a lot more exposure to the community.
Okay.
Great.
Are we sure now?
Well, actually, I would. No, I mean, I was thinking, I don't know if maybe Danica can do this quickly, because I think another thing that is important is if we ask the residents where they go to look for this information.
Yeah.
Because even if we go with the Star, or if we go with the Gardner News, or if we go with online, where, if people want to know about something, where do they go look for it? Where would be their first choice? So I would like, if we could easily get some just maybe general feedback on that, I think that would be important as well.
I want to say there was a, it's been part of our survey questions, kind of year in, year out, so.
And I think you'll probably find the vast majority of people go online now for that stuff. Right.
This is magic box.
But, yes, but it has to be a third party,
Correct.
whoever it is.
Correct.
So, all right, well, I'll ask again. Is that all?
Time to expand.
Because if so,
I move that we adjourn.
I bet you do. Unfortunately, we're going to have an executive session this evening.
Yes.
Oh, we are.
Yes.
And I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Shute, second Melton, that we recess into executive session pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1 to discuss matters related to non-elected personnel, beginning at 7:58 and ending at 8:10. Yes?
Yeah, that's fine.
It was a good start.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? We stand in recess. Entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Moore, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're back in regular session. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion Moore, second Shute, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I didn't get to vote no.
You were outgunned anyway.